So this is I think the 5th part that I've done of this. I think C, split C into 2 because there were so many. Now, if I can get this to, I have to scroll. Okay. Just a quick recap on the country as a whole. Most of you would know this anyway, but I'll just cover it off. So I live in Victoria down the bottom, lived for 20 years down in Tasmania, and have collected in Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia. There are lots of collecting spots elsewhere as well. But those are the main areas from my perspective. And each time I do one of these presentations, the numbers change. So I think when I first started the project, which I'll talk about in a minute, I was saying that there was something like about 1,550 species recorded in Australia, and now we're over 1,600. So there are more that are added on a relatively regular basis. And I decided a number of years ago that it would be good to have some sort of publication that looked at the whole of the country and the minerals that occur here. And I put out, each month, I put out a small segment going through alphabetically. We're already just about to kick into minerals beginning with the letter O. So it's been going for a few years. I've published individual sort of summarized versions, not summarized, but separated versions for like A to C, D to F, and so on, that combines them as well. And still got probably another 12 months or more to go to get to the end of it. But it's been a lot of fun, and it has also been something that has allowed me to learn even more about the minerals in general, but the minerals of Australia. Now, Australia itself is a quite a big place. I've seen maps that overlay it on the US and Europe, and if you see those, you'll see just how big it is. But still comes down to having minerals in very small areas in some instances. Okay, let's go on. So going to start off with rare beryllium mineral, Danalite. And Danalite occurs usually as just these sort of reddish masses that you can see on the photo here. But it does also occur as tetrahedral crystals or octahedral crystals, but they're pretty rare. And it's one of, talking last night on our social call about the difficulty in identifying things, it grades into helvite. So quite often you've got to actually work out, analyze a specimen to work out whether or not it's Danalite or helvite. And it's been found, all the deposits so far are only in Tasmania. The Cara mine, the Mount Cleveland mine, Mount Lindsay mine, Mount Ramsay mine, and the Rosebery mine, and hasn't been recorded on the mainland, although helvite has. I should also say, just at this particular point, for each of the slides you see, there'll be the mineral name, the formula, the chemical formula, brief description, and the localities. And then each of the photos will have the mineral name, the locality, and the size or the width of the view of the specimen. I've got a couple of other photos of Danalite. It's another one from the Cara mine. In this case, it's a James Melville specimen and photo. James is one of a few people that's also provided some photos for this activity that I've been doing. And a Matthew Latham one, another photo provided by another friend of mine. Both James and Matthew are Tasmanian-based collectors. Move on to Damburite. Damburite forms in contact metamorphic zones or skarns. It's usually prismatic crystals, either colourless or white or pale, sometimes radiating aggregates, and it can be quite difficult to pick from some other minerals as well. But it's been reported. I also should say the reported from is not necessarily a complete list either. In this case, I've picked Colebrook Hill and Gravel Hill as the two, one in Tasmania and one in Victoria. And this little crystal in the middle here is the Damburite. And this is the white radiating form that we get from the Gravel Hill quarry in Victoria. There's also some other quite nice rare minerals that occur there too. And this one more crystalline from the same locality, but in this case, colourless prismatic crystals. A very rare one is Danalite, the type locality being in Western Australia. And it's invariably fine-grained and intergrown with other sulfides or tiny inclusions in Anglesite. So in this particular instance here, this is probably Galena as the host, and the Danalite is intergrown or inclusions within that particular mineral, but it's very rare. Datalite, another borate mineral. The Colebrook Hill locality is one of the best occurrences in Australia. And this is one of Matthew's photos again, and you can see it's quite a reasonable size specimen, 46 millimeters across, and very glassy. It can be white or yellowish green in colour, and is found in a few sort of skarn localities around the country. And here's another James one, a green one from Colebrook Hill. It's that green area there. All of this is also Datalite, so it's sort of a mass at the edge of the cavity. A much larger one, but sort of it's got crystal faces, but it's mostly massive crystalline material. And a small one from Dookie in Victoria. It's this green area here with axonite, actinolite needles, and orange garnets, andronite garnets. Another rare one is Dorbrelite, not to be confused with Dorbriite. And this is a mineral that occurs in meteorites with other species. And these small pieces here, I haven't got a scale on that one, which is a bit remiss of me, but they are only basically crumbs and contain mostly Schreibesite, but Dorbrelite is included as part of it. So not a very attractive mineral, but it's rare. And Davidite comes in, I think, about 3 different rare earth versions now. The Davidite LA, which used to be just called Davidite, is was from the Radium Hill originally in South Australia, the type locality. It's generally metamict, so no crystallography. What's the word? X-rays don't show the crystal form, and it's reported from a number of areas, but for the most part they all look like brown lumps like this, or brown to black, and generally rounded. They can be quite large. The largest here is 16 millimeters, but they can be 60 or 70 centimeters across in some areas. There's a couple of slightly different ones here from different areas. Billeroo in South Australia and Kajabi in Queensland. With Carnotite, this one's more of a massive lump rather than crystals. And Crockerswell in South Australia. And we have Dawsonite, which is a fairly uncommon carbonate mineral and occurs in coal mines, just generally as white fibrous or tufts or whatever, and can be pseudomorphs after other minerals, called glaubrite in particular. That's from the Narrabri coal mine, and this one's from the Bayswater colliery, both in New South Wales. Then we get on to one of the rare earth species from Paratu in South Australia. It's the type locality for 3, I think, at the moment. The Crespignyite is this one. It's the blue mineral. There are 2 other rare earth minerals that it's a type locality for. It's Paratuite, La, I think, and one of the Alice Wilsonites. YLA, I think, is the Alice Wilsonite from there. And on this particular specimen, you've also got Camphorgite, which is a white balls up the top here, another rare earth mineral. It's an area that's probably won't produce any more now. The area that had the rare earth minerals occur in is pretty well gone. The blue tends to be from a sort of a light sky blue up to quite a deep blue in colour. There's quite a range. It's quite attractive. Dewindite's the next one. That's one of the secondary uranium minerals. It can be very difficult to distinguish from other yellow secondary uranium minerals. It fluoresces. It generally doesn't occur in distinct crystals as such, just sort of coatings and so on. So usually you would need to get it analysed to work out exactly what it is. And it's been recorded from 2 Northern Territory localities, sorry, 3 more. Sorry, I've combined a few there. Koongarra and the Ranger mines are separate, and the El Sharana and the Rockhole mines are separate, both in 2 different areas, and also from Mount Painter in Arkaroola in South Australia. This one was labelled as East Alligator River, so we don't know exactly where that one came from. It's probably going to be one of the South Alligator ones, South Alligator River ones. And just a side comment on that, we don't have any alligators in Australia. We have crocodiles. The crocodiles that would have been seen in the South Alligator River are the saltwater crocs, and they do look a little bit like alligators, I suppose, but they're big animals. Diabolite, another fairly rare mineral, only occurs as tiny blue crystals and is recorded just from a couple of localities. And that's one that deserves to have a different photo taken of it, but the width of view there is very, very small. Diamonds. Now, diamonds in Australia, when you think diamonds, you think of pink Argyle diamonds. And the Argyle mine, which is recently closed, was the largest industrial diamond producer in the world up until a few years ago, and has produced arguably the best pink diamonds for the jewellery trade. Some of them which are quite large, and the colour range is quite diverse as well for those. But diamond has been recorded from other localities around Australia, on the east coast of Australia through New South Wales, such as these ones here from the Macquarie River. Another pipe, a kimberlite pipe, at the Merlin Diamond Mine in the Northern Territory. This one's a weird one. I don't know a lot about it. I haven't been able to find out a lot about it, but there's these so-called metamorphic diamonds that have been found in Queensland. There are kimberlite pipes. Most of them are in Western Australia, but there are a few in South Australia and the Northern Territory as well. And on the east side of the country, it's mostly alluvial or deep lead deposits that have produced the diamonds. And of course, it also occurs as microdiamonds in a number of meteorites. There's another New South Wales one on the right, and another New South Wales one from different area on the left-hand side there. There's more diamonds being found in New South Wales than in Victoria, but Victoria has produced a few. That's a brown argyle diamond. Then we move on to a rare sulfosalt, and it's typical of sulfosalts. Again, you really have to analyse it to see what you've got. That's another James Melville specimen. It's reported only from a couple of localities. Pretty nondescript looking material. Diaspore is an interesting one. It can be a fairly common mineral, but generally not something that is collectible. And the only diaspore specimen that I have is part of what is known locally as Luzonite, which there is a mineral called Luzonite, which is a phosphate, but originally Luzonite was the name given to this green rock in Heathcote in Victoria, and that rock is made up of a number of different things, including diaspore, and it's part of the green ground mass of it. So you've also got muscovite running through as veins there as well. Dickinsonite, KMNNA, from the Whipperaminga Hill quarries in South Australia. That's Peter Hall's specimen, but it would have been something that would have been analysed by Peter Elliott. With a formula like that, there's no way that you're going to be able to identify these things visually. Dickite is just generally a white mineral, can be massive or as coatings or whatever, and it occurs in a number of different environments and a number of different localities. This one in particular was quite nice because it's it's sitting on belandrite needles in a little cavity of fluorite and magnesite from Mount Bischoff. That Mount Bischoff was probably my favourite collecting spot when I lived in Tasmania. It was only about a 4.5-hour drive away, so it wasn't very far. You can see some belandrite needles up the top there as well that don't have any dickite on them. And on this specimen of Atacamite, it's the white material down the bottom. On this one, which is also from Mount Bischoff, it's sitting on purple fluorite. And this one's on ferrone magnesite, again the white material. And another one on quartz from Luina, the Mount Cleveland mine in Luina. You have to ask why people collect a mineral like that, but it's interesting. Digenite's one of the copper sulfides. It's fairly widespread. It can form as a replacement. It's quite often just in the supergene the bottom of the supergene zone in copper ores. And most specimens come from Mount Gunston, most Australian specimens, where it can be quite nice. Diopside, as opposed to dioptase, which we'll come to in a minute. This one, it's a little bit hard to see on there, but those arrows are pointing to little darker green areas. That one you can probably see a bit more, which is, it's in an olivine bomb, so-called olivine bomb, of which we've got lots of olivine bombs and olivine masses in volcanoes in Victoria. But the sort of olive green is the olivinite, or in this case probably forsterite, and the darker green or mid-green grains are a chrome diopside, and if they are large enough they can make some very nice faceted stones. But diopside also occurs as large crystals at the Mount Elliot mine in particular in Queensland. You can see that specimen's about 80 millimetres across. Some of the crystals that I've seen have been a lot bigger than that as well. But they're short prisms in this specimen, but they can be quite long prismatic crystals in some. There's another one from the Mount Elliot mine. And a really nice one from the Kara mine, which is almost translucent. It's a Matthew Latham specimen. Kara mine would be my second most favourite collecting locality in Tasmania. And this is an unusual one from Trial Harbour. It's more of a rock than a mineral specimen, but again, it's the black material is massive diopside. And then smaller crystals, so for the micros, Cosgrove and the Seidling in Tasmania both produce these transparent little green prismatic crystals, which are quite nice. And one from Western Australia, from Yennathara, which is the area best known for the large Dravite crystals that are sold all around the world. You'll see them at Tucson on massive great plates and so on. But this one's only a 6 millimetre crystal of diopside from that same area. Probably not the Dravite locality, but it would be from somewhere nearby. Now, dioptase. There are a few locations where it's been recorded. The only dioptase that I have ever seen, though, is from Dome Rock in South Australia. This is a Mark Willoughby specimen, and I think it is the same specimen that there is a photo in the catalogue of the Minerals of South Australia of dioptase, and I think it's the same specimen. The photo is not aligned the same way, but I'm pretty sure it's the same one. That book was put out in the early 1980s, I think, and Mark told me at one stage that he's now got 5 or 6 specimens that you can reliably say are the ones that are illustrated in that particular book. Interestingly, I had a specimen from Dome Rock that came from the US, from John Sobolewski. I'm not sure how you pronounce his surname, but John sends out, lots of micros, and one of them was a Dome Rock one, and it didn't say dioptase on it. It was something else which was on the front of the specimen. But when I actually looked at it closely and I turned it over, I actually found there were a couple of dioptase crystals on it as well. So I was quite pleased about that. The Gadolinite is another copper sulfide. That's from the Great Australian mine. You can see quite distinct crystals in that one. It's reported from a few different copper mines around the country. The Great Australian mine in Cloncurry has type locality for Cloncurryite, which is understandable. But there are also a number of rare nitrate minerals that come from there as well, which are interesting. Iron Monarch has 150 plus species that it has produced. Mount Gunson's was quite a large copper mine in South Australia, and Olympic Dam is the largest uranium mine in the world, my understanding, and it is completely buried by overlying rocks. So I think they originally found it through a flyover, and each report that I see, the reserves are getting bigger and bigger. And that's the type locality for Roxbyite, in the Roxby Downs area. There's another Gadolinite from Cloncurry, and one from Mount Gunson. These ones are a little bit harder to identify. There are so many sulfides at Mount Gunson, copper sulfides, and a lot of them look very, very similar. Very common or relatively common mineral is dolomite. It's interesting that there's been some conjecture as to whether dolomite is as common as people originally thought, and that many so-called dolomites might actually be anchorites. But you'd probably have to analyse every specimen to see exactly where it sat with the magnesium. But we're going to stick with it as it is at the moment. It's very widespread, occurs in many different environments. You can see there's a whole range of things listed there. This is one from South Australia, which is the typical sort of saddle-shaped crystals that you get. But it also comes in sort of a botryoidal look. This one would be a zinc-rich dolomite. One from the proprietary mine. That one, the underlying calcite will fluoresce vividly on that specimen. Another zinc-rich one here with cerussite from Broken Hill. Another one from Kintore. This one here has quite a nice chalcopyrite crystal with fibrous sepiolite, which is the white material, and a bit of hematite in there, here and there too, sitting on these sort of grey rhombs of dolomite. And an interesting one that I managed to pick up a few years ago is part of a drill core that has dolomite in a cavity running along it from Rum Jungle in Northern Territory. One with malachite. One on quartz, sort of pink crystals. Roxby Downs, so the Olympic Dam again. Iron Duke, which is not far from the Iron Monarch that people would know about. Another South Australian one here. Another South Australian one from a different locality. One from the Iron Monarch itself. Beltana mine. And yellow one from Mutaroo, another copper mine in South Australia. This is all dolomite in the background. And for those that know Peter Manchester, that's Peter Manchester looking at rocks in the corner there. Another Tasmanian one, colourless transparent crystals. Mount Lyell produced some really nice ones. This is from underground, would be in the Prince Lyell shaft, and a reasonable sort of size with hematite. A small one from the Great South Comet mine at Dundas, sitting on siderite. Replacing fluorite from Renison Bell. One from the Magnet mine, and you've got this interesting calcite sitting on it. So it's really sort of raggedy calcite crystals, colourless crystals sitting on top of the dolomite. Now this is one that definitely is going to be pushing towards the anchorite side. Stacked crystals from Renison. Blobby stuff from near where I live. And another one where it's perched on a pseudo-brookite crystal sitting there, and you've got the dolomite blob on the end of it. Flinders, Victoria, so there's quite a lot with the basalts in Victoria. And Phillip Island with Jacobsite. And one from Western Australia, the Lady Shenton mine. Another one, I quite like this one. Interesting combinations of crystals. Teutonic Bore, which was mostly a silver mine. You can see some chlorargyrite going up the side there. Another one from Teutonic Bore. And then we move out of the dolomites and into a very rare species, dome rockite. And the type locality, of course, being dome rock. It's the tiny bluish green crystals or crusts all through there. If you had a specimen of this and you weren't told where it was from, you would have difficulty in working out what it is visually. But being from dome rock itself, it's quite unique looking for dome rock anyway. And that's a John Haupt specimen, tiny little crystals. Dravite, we mentioned it briefly before. Dravite is one of those tourmalines that people pick up a brown tourmaline, they say, oh, it's Dravite. Not necessarily. Tourmalines can be multiple species even within the one crystal through zoning and whatever. Colour is definitely not a distinguishing characteristic. And you can't just say it's brown, therefore it's Dravite. But Dravite is known from a number of localities. The first one there that I've got listed, the Heramine, it actually occurs as fibrous white crystals, which is nothing like a brown tourmaline. Anyway, this one's from Henry's Hill Wolfram Mine. It's about an hour and a bit away from where I live, and the mine itself dates back to, I think, the late 1800s, and it's all farming area now. And I actually found out about the mine through doing a bit of research and then decided to go and try and find it. And when I got there, I found there's a bit of a ridge. You can see where the geology has the granite. It's only a small area, and on both sides of the road, over the fences in the paddocks in the fields, you could see some workings. And on the roadside, along the nature strip on the side of the roads, there were a few small pits that had been dug, mostly filled with rubbish, as tends to happen. But I was able to find some quite reasonable Dravite specimens when I went there. This is one of them. May Downs in Queensland, these ones were called tourmaline grenades. They can be quite large, and they're very, very dark. There's a couple of other examples. Mount Bischoff tourmalines range in colour from almost colourless through to bluish green through to various shades of brown. And Ralph Bottrell has analysed a number of specimens, and Dravite is one of the ones there, but there's also one of the Foytite ones, and probably Shawl, and there may be other things as well. It's a really difficult one to determine exactly what species you've got, but this one's definitely Dravite. And this pale brown, almost sort of sugary material in a quartzite is also Dravite from the 10th Legion skarn at St. Dizier on the west coast of Tasmania. I stopped off at this locality once. It's just a trek. When I was driving down from the northwest, heading back down towards Zeehan, and picked up a few bits of interesting looking rock, and Ralph analysed them, and they are definitely Dravite. No crystals, just like a sandy material. Pitong is another locality that's not far away from where I live, and is the type locality for Pitongite, and that has quite a lot of brown, very small, lustrous brown Dravite crystals with a whole range of other species. And then we go back to the Yinathara Dravites. They're quite large usually. These are small ones in comparison. And as I said, you'll see big plates of them that have been prepared. Tom Capitani's company operates, I think he calls it the Tomcap mine now, or Tomcap tourmaline mine, or Tomcap Dravite mine, or some such thing. And that's a fair sized one, 225 millimeters in length. That one's very dark. And we go to a iron phosphate, dufrenite. This generally occurs as sort of greenish masses, but as you can see here, it goes to a bluish black color as well. And you can see zoning in the botryoids, which means that the formula that you can see there is not going to be all the same all the way through that particular specimen, typical of some of these phosphates. It's quite common in terms of the number of localities, but it's not a really common mineral as such. And this one, very different. Again, this one probably is dufrenite and probably natrodufrenite in this area, the lighter green colour, but that's supposition. It hasn't been analysed. Just going based on the paler crystals. This one's more of a coating. It goes into a sort of greenish yellow colour in some instances. The green one there from Macolta in South Australia. Again, generally ugly, but I quite like ugly minerals as well. So another Tom's Quarry one, different to the previous one. More of a bluish colour in Victoria. And a green one from Witchyproof in Victoria. Witchyproof type locality for selenite, the mineral, and Witchyproofite. Then we have duftite, and these are really, really nice crystals. John Haupt specimen and photo from the new Cobar mine, the Cobar region, central New South Wales. Quite often they are not going to be as distinct as these, but these ones are very, very nice. Different form from Mount Bonny in Northern Territory. Another one from Mount Bonny, different colours this time. But you can see there the typical Mount Bonny memetites it's famous for. Same again, you've got the memetite in the centre, and the duftite is the green material all the way around there. One from the Monacoff mine. This was one that I didn't pick as duftite, and I had it analysed just to make sure. Then we move on to Dundasite, and this is probably my third favourite area in Tasmania, the Dundas region. This first one here is from the Adelaide mine with tiny little crowbite crystals that you can see there. And the Adelaide mine is the type locality for Dundasite, the white material. It's relatively common at other localities around the world. It's pretty basic lead aluminium carbonates. There's not a lot in it. It does grade into Gibbsite in the Dundas mines, and you'll actually find some specimens that have both Dundasite and Gibbsite on the same specimen, and you can almost see the gradation as it goes from one to the other. It's found quite a few localities, mostly in Tasmania, and one in New South Wales. Hercules mine wasn't recorded from there, and then we had a field trip there one year, and we managed to actually locate some right up the top of Mount Reid. And there weren't very many specimens, but quite nice, with sericite in that locality. And this typical botryoidal sort of look, as opposed to the other form, which is the tufted or acicular crystals, like that. And this is from the Capi mine. It's a fairly typical looking piece. The only thing I can't see on this one is the yellow cericites that normally accompany the Crocolite and the Dundasite. But a lot of the Dundasite from the Capi is this sort of a colour rather than the pure white. Some of it's the pure white as well, but it's still quite common. There's a close-up of one of the Capi ones. You can see here yellow sort of base with the white surrounding area. So whether or not the yellow has altered or it's still Dundasite, I don't know. I don't think there's been any work done on that, but it'd be worth checking out too. And we have another rare one, Dipinglite, magnesium carbonate. We've just gone from one which forms as white balls to another one that forms as white balls. And only located from a small number of localities, recorded I should say, from a small number of localities, again all in Tasmania. And it's this white material with Zaratite being the green. And another one where it's sort of grading from white into a green, pale green colour. Discrosite's a rare silver mineral. When I say rare though, at the Consols mine in Broken Hill, it was found in masses up to 1.5 tonnes in weight. But that was a long time ago and certainly not collectible these days. But this one's not a bad one. So this is a 6mm crystal on the top right-hand side.